The microphone felt heavier than any tool I'd ever held in 40 years of hard labor. I stood on a stage, soaked in gold light. Hundreds of strangers staring back at me, and I finally opened my mouth to tell them the truth. But to understand how I got there, you need to go back to the night before. My name is Walter Grayson. I'm 66 years old, retired contractor, Dover, and 2 days ago, I transferred $85,000 to pay for my son's wedding. That Friday night, I sat at my kitchen table, polishing my dress shoes, getting ready for the biggest day of Michael's life. My phone buzzed. I smiled. Until I read the message. "Dad, please don't come tomorrow. Vanessa says your blue-collar vibe will embarrass her family." I read it once, twice, a third time. I didn't call him. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I set the phone down. On the table. Very slowly, and I walked to my laptop. If you've ever been underestimated by the very people you sacrificed everything for, hit that like button and subscribe, because what I did next didn't just cancel a wedding. It exposed a lie that had been building for years, one that was about to cost my son everything he thought he owned. I opened my laptop. The screen glowed blue in the dark kitchen. I logged into my bank account, and I clicked one button. The kitchen smelled like wax and leather, and the faint trace of sawdust that never really leaves a man who spent his whole life building things with his hands. I was sitting at the table, a tin of shoe polish open in front of me, an old rag stained black from years of use. On the back of the kitchen door hung my charcoal suit, 10 years old, but freshly dry cleaned. Just for tomorrow. My son Michael was getting married. I'm Walter Grayson, retired contractor. 40 years of cracked hands and a sore back, pouring concrete, framing houses, so that my son would never have to. I wanted him to have soft hands, the hands of a man who signs checks, not the hands of a man who cashes them. And I succeeded. Michael is 28 now. He wears suits that cost more than my first car. He drives a car I bought him 2 years ago, though he tells his friends he earned it himself, with a bonus. The house has been quiet since my wife Eleanor passed away 5 years ago. Just me, and the sound of a rag circling slowly over the toe of a dress shoe. I looked at the clock. 7 in the evening. I was expecting a call. Maybe some excitement. Maybe a simple thank you. 2 days earlier, I had wired $85,000 to the wedding venue. The deposit and the final balance, all in one transfer. Vanessa, my future daughter-in-law, had insisted on that venue. She said it was the only place that met her family's standards. My phone buzzed against the oak table. I wiped my hands on a paper towel, picked it up, and smiled. A text from Michael. I put on my reading glasses. I read the message. Then I read it again. Then I took my glasses off, cleaned them slowly, put them back on, and read it a third time. "Dad, I'm so sorry, but Vanessa is really stressed. She says having you there will make her anxious. Her family is high society, from New York. And, you know, you're a little too blue-collar. They're not comfortable around people who look like they labor for a living. It's better if you don't come. I'll send you photos. Love, Michael." I stared at that screen until it went black on its own. The silence in that kitchen was sudden. Total. Like all the air had been pulled out of the room at once. Too blue-collar. Those two words just écoute, over and over. I looked down at my hands, calloused, a scar on my left thumb from a table saw accident. Back in the 90s, a permanent tan line on my neck from 30 summers under the sun. These hands poured the foundation of the house Michael grew up in. These hands changed his diapers when his mother was too sick to stand fra him. These hands signed the checks for his private school, his college tuition, and these same hands had signed a check for $85,000. Just yesterday, I didn't feel angry. Not yet. What I felt was colder than anger, a heavy stone. Settling low in my stomach, the feeling of a man realizing he spent 28 years building a house on top of a sinkhole. Michael didn't even have the courage to call me. He sent a text. He dismissed his own father, the man who had been his only parent for 5 years, with a text message. And Vanessa, I thought about her. 26 years old. Talks like she stepped out of an old money catalog. With an accent I'm fairly sure she picked up from watching television. Treats waiters like they're invisible. And Michael just follows her, like a puppy. I raised him to be kind. Somewhere along the way, that kindness turned into weakness. And I never noticed, not until tonight. I stood up. My knees popped. I walked to the fridge, pulled out a beer, then put it right back. This moment needed something stronger. I poured 3 fingers of whiskey and drank it in one swallow. The burn woke something up in me. I looked at the suit hanging on the door. It didn't look like a suit anymore. It looked like a costume. A costume for a clown who thought he was part of the family. I took it off the hook, walked it to the hall closet, hung it in the back, behind the winter coats. I wouldn't be needing a suit tomorrow. I sat back down at the table, picked up the phone, hovered my thumb over the call button. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to ask how he could do this to me. Then I stopped. What was the point? If I had to beg my own son to want me at his wedding? I had already lost. Dignity is the only thing a man has left when he's alone in a quiet house. I wasn't going to hand them the satisfaction of hearing me cry. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of hearing me yell. So I did something else instead. I walked to the corner of the living room, sat down at my desk, and opened my laptop. The screen lit up. Blue. In the dark. I logged into my bank account. Most people look at me and see an old man in a flannel shirt, driving a truck with rust creeping up the bumper. They see a man who mows his own lawn and clips coupons for coffee. They have no idea who I actually am. They don't know that 30 years ago, I started a construction supply company, that I bought land when it was cheap and sold it when it turned to gold, that I own 3 apartment buildings across the city, and a warehouse district I've never even mentioned to my own son. Michael thinks I live off a pension and Social Security. He was about to find out exactly how wrong he was. I clicked on the transaction history. I wanted to see, in black and white, exactly what my blue-collar money had bought them this week. The list was long, and it was ugly. $4,000 at a spa. Charged 2 days ago. Vanessa and her mother must have gone for the full treatment. I hadn't spent $4,000 on myself in the last 4 years combined. $12,000 to an airline. First-class tickets. Flying Vanessa's parents in from New York. Michael had told me they were wealthy. If they were so wealthy, why was I the one paying for their flights? $3,000 at a restaurant. Charged last night. The rehearsal dinner. I wasn't invited to that either, Michael said. It was just for the bridal party. But the bill was for 20 people. 20 people, eating steak and lobster on my dime. While I sat in my kitchen eating a sandwich alone. I kept scrolling. $500 for a limousine. Scheduled for tomorrow morning. Pick up at the airport. And then, the big one. Pending. $85,000. The venue. I stared at that number for a long time. That was a college education. That was a house. In some parts of this country. That was the sweat of my whole life. And they were using it to throw a party where I wasn't welcome. I looked at the timestamp on the wire. I had authorized it just yesterday morning. Most people think a wire transfer moves instantly. It doesn't. There's a window, a small one, where the sender can still dispute it. If something's wrong, and something was very wrong, my hand was steady on the mouse. Steady, like a man taking careful aim. I clicked on the $85,000 transaction. A menu appeared, asking for a reason. I typed one word: unauthorized. It wasn't a lie. I had authorized a payment for my son's wedding. I never authorized a payment for a social event where I was banned from the guest list. The contract between a father and a son had already been broken by them. Not by me. I hit submit. The screen refreshed. Transaction canceled. The money wasn't going anywhere. The venue would get their notification in the morning. I wasn't finished. I opened the credit card tab. Michael's card. The one he carried around to impress Vanessa. To buy her flowers and jewelry, and the illusion that he was a self-made man. $20,000 in charges. Just in the last month, I found the toggle switch that said active next to his name. I clicked it. It changed to inactive, but I wanted more than inactive. I wanted certainty. I wanted him to swipe that card tomorrow morning for the florist, or the makeup artist, or the final bar tab, and feel it turn into a useless piece of plastic in his hand. I clicked report lost or stolen. The site asked if I wanted a replacement card sent. I clicked no. I sat back in my chair. The room was silent. But in my head, I could hear the sound of a heavy door slamming shut. Then I opened my email. There was one from the property manager who oversaw the house on Oak Street, the house Michael and Vanessa lived in. They thought they rented it from some faceless management company. They didn't know I owned it. I'd bought it through a holding company 3 years ago, just so my son would have somewhere decent to start his life. They paid $1,000 a month. Market rate was closer to $3,000. I quietly covered the difference every single month, moving money from one of my own pockets to the other, just so the books would look normal to him. I wrote a short email. Prepare a 30-day notice for the tenants on Oak Street. Raise the rent to full market value. Effective on any renewal. No exceptions. Send it first thing tomorrow. I hit send. In under 10 minutes, I had quietly dismantled the entire financial fantasy my son had been living in. I closed the laptop and waited for the guilt to come. It didn't. A father is supposed to protect his child. But a father is also supposed to teach his child, and somewhere along the way, I had failed to teach Michael gratitude. I had failed to teach him respect. So now, life was going to have to teach him instead. And life is a much crueler teacher than I ever was. I rinsed my whiskey glass, set it in the drying rack, and put the shoe polish back under the sink. My phone buzzed again. Michael. He must have been out celebrating with his friends, or maybe his card had just been declined for a round of drinks. I watched the screen light up with an old photo of the two of us on a fishing trip. Years ago. Both smiling. Looking, for a moment, like an actual team. The phone kept buzzing. Then it stopped. A text came in instead. Dad, call me back. My card isn't working. I read it twice. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't apologize for the text that banned me from his own wedding. He only reached out. The second his access to my money got cut off. That told me everything I needed to know. I held down the power button until the screen went dark, and the little spinning wheel disappeared for good. Tomorrow was going to be a very bad day for Michael Grayson. And for the first time in 28 years, I wasn't going to be the one who fixed it. The sun was just starting to burn off the morning mist over the lawns in my neighborhood. 7 o'clock. The morning my son was supposed to get married. Most fathers, on a morning like that, would be tying a Windsor knot, checking their watch, thinking about the speech they were about to give. I was out in my front yard, pulling the starter cord on my 20-year-old lawnmower. The engine sputtered, coughed, then roared to life, a loud mechanical growl that broke the quiet of the whole street. I loved that sound. It was the sound of work, the sound of something that never let me down. Unlike the people about to show up on my driveway, I pulled my hat low over my eyes and started pushing the mower across the grass. The smell of gasoline and cut clover filled the air. It grounded me. It reminded me exactly who I was. I was Walter Grayson. I built things. I fixed things. And today, I was going to tear something down. I was halfway through the second row when I heard it. A screech. The sound of expensive tires being tortured against asphalt. I didn't look up right away. I kept pushing the mower. Steady, feeling the vibration run up through my hands. But I knew that engine. It was Michael's car, the one I'd bought him 2 years ago. When he told me he needed something reliable for client meetings, it came around the corner far too fast for a quiet residential street and slammed to a stop right in front of my driveway. Smoke rose off the tires, leaving black skid marks on pavement. I had sealed myself. Just last summer, I stopped the mower, didn't turn it off, just let it idle, chugging away. While I leaned on the handle and waited, the driver's door flew open. Michael scrambled out, hair a mess. Wrinkled t-shirt, sweatpants. He looked like a man who'd lost his mother in a grocery store, not a groom on his wedding day. Then the passenger door opened. Vanessa stepped out in a pink tracksuit that probably cost more than my mower. Huge sunglasses covering half her face. She slammed the door hard enough to rock the whole car on its suspension. That made my jaw tighten. You don't slam the door of a car like that. You don't own Bernie. She caught herself. Glaring, Walter, what the hell is wrong with you? I reached down and flipped the switch. The engine died. The silence that followed was heavy. I took a slow breath, pulled a rag from my back pocket, wiped my forehead. I didn't say a word. I just looked at them. Michael came jogging up the driveway, loafers slipping on the grass clippings. Dad, you have to pick up your phone. Why is it off? Do you have any idea what's happening right now? I looked at him. Calm. I'm cutting the grass. Michael, I like to focus when I work. Vanessa marched up behind him, typing furiously on her phone before shoving the screen toward my face. Declined. She hissed. Declined. Do you know what that word means? I was in the salon chair. They'd just finished my extensions. My hair was wet, and when I handed them the card, it beeped. Loud. Everyone looked. The stylist. Every customer in that room. She stepped closer, invading my space, smelling of expensive chemicals and panic. It said stolen. They thought I was a thief. They threatened to call the police. I had to call my own father to pay over the phone. On my wedding day, I folded the rag, put it back in my pocket. That sounds embarrassing. I said, flat. No sympathy in it at all. Embarrassing, she shrieked. It was humiliating. Call the bank right now. Tell them it was a mistake. Tell them you're an idiot who pressed the wrong button. Fix this. Michael stepped between us. Hands up. Dad, please. We don't have time for this. The florist is waiting on final payment. The limo company needs the deposit. We have vendors to pay this morning. Just unlock the card. We can talk about whatever's bothering you after the wedding. Whatever's bothering me. He said it like this was a mood, like I was having a senior moment. He genuinely didn't understand the ground had already shifted under his feet. And he hadn't noticed yet. I looked at the panic in his eyes. It wasn't the panic of a man worried about his father. It was the panic of a man cut off from his supply. I'm not calling the bank, I said. Michael blinked. What I said, I'm not calling the bank. The card wasn't declined by accident. Michael, I reported it stolen myself. Vanessa let out a sound. Half laugh, half growl. You what? Why would you do that? Because I realized something last night. I said, arms crossed. Only a thief takes $85,000 from a man, and then tells him he isn't good enough to sit at the same table. Michael went pale, He finally understood. This wasn't a glitch. This was a response. "Dad, come on," he said, voice dropping to a whisper. "You got the text. Look, I'm sorry." "Okay, it's complicated. Vanessa's family is different. They have expectations. We just wanted the day to be perfect. We didn't want you to feel out of place. Out of place." I repeated. "You're standing in the driveway of the house I built, driving a car I paid for, wearing clothes I bought, and you think I'm the one who's out of place." Vanessa rolled her eyes behind her sunglasses. "Oh, here we go. The martyr act. Listen, we don't have time for your little pity party. We have guests flying in. We have a schedule. And you are ruining everything. Because your ego got bruised. Just give us the money and go back to your gardening. You don't fit in with my family. Look at you. You're covered in grass. You look like the help. The help." I looked down at my boots, old, stained with oil and mud. My flannel, faded at the elbows, then past them. At the car sitting in the street. My pride. Once, I'd worked 6 extra months of side jobs just to pay for it in cash. So my son wouldn't carry a car payment. I let the silence stretch a moment. "You know, Vanessa," I said quietly, "you're right. I am the help. I'm the help that pays your rent, the help that pays for your vacations, and I'm the help that paid for the very car whose door you just slammed." I walked past them, down the driveway, toward the street. "Where are you going?" Michael called after me, voice rising. "Dad, where are you going?" I pulled out my keyring, pressed the unlock button. The lights on the car flashed once, and I kept walking. I opened the driver's door and got in. The leather was soft, still warm from the engine. It smelled like Michael's cologne and Vanessa's perfume. It smelled, if I'm honest, like entitlement. "Dad, what are you doing?" Michael shouted, running toward me. "We need that car. We have to pick up the groomsmen in an hour." I started the engine. The dashboard lit up. "Get out of the car." Walter, Vanessa screamed, heels clicking frantically down the driveway. "That's our car. You can't take our car." I rolled the window down as they reached me. I looked straight at my son. "It's not your car." "Michael," I said, "it never was. My name's on the title. My name's on the insurance. And since I'm not invited to the wedding, I don't see why my car should be invited either." "Dad, you can't do this," he pleaded, tears welling in his eyes. "How are we supposed to get to the venue? How are we supposed to get anywhere? I don't know," I said, shifting into gear. "Maybe call Vanessa's wealthy father. I'm sure he has a spare limousine lying around somewhere. Or you could take the bus. Very affordable, very blue collar." I didn't wait for an answer. I pressed the gas. The car surged forward, leaving them standing in the middle of the street. In the rearview mirror, I watched Michael standing there, arms hanging at his sides, lost. Vanessa was throwing her hands in the air, screaming into empty space. I drove the car around the block, parked it in my own garage, and closed the door behind it. Then I went inside, locked my front door, and poured myself a cup of coffee. My hands were shaking a little, not from fear. From adrenaline, I had fired the first shot. The war was far from over. Less than 10 minutes later, the pounding started on my front door. Rhythmic, desperate. They hadn't gone to the bus stop after all. They'd come back, realizing they were stranded with no money. Nukar, and a clock ticking down toward a very public disaster. I finished my coffee slowly. I did not hurry. I was done hurrying for people who wouldn't cross the street to help me. I opened the door. Michael stood there, chest heaving, sweat on his face. Vanessa behind him, arms crossed, tracksuit, looking almost comical, against the peeling paint of my porch. "You have to stop this." "Dad," Michael said, voice cracking. "You're taking this too far. It was just a text. We didn't mean to hurt you. Give us the keys. Turn the cards back on. We have an hour before the ceremony." I leaned against the doorframe, blocking the entrance. "I'm not acting like a lunatic." "Michael," I said, calm. "I'm acting like a man who just saved himself $85,000. Vanessa pushed past him. "Listen to me. You selfish old man. You think you can hold us hostage. You're pathetic. This is my wedding. My day. And you're ruining it because you're too sensitive to hear the truth." "And what's the truth?" "Vanessa. The truth is you're an embarrassment." She screamed. "Look at this house. It smells like grease and sawdust. You drive a truck that belongs in a junkyard. My parents are flying in from New York. They move in circles you couldn't dream of. Do you think I want them to see you standing next to us in photos?" I let her words hit me. They were meant to cut. They didn't. They just clarified things. "I don't dig ditches." "Vanessa," I said, "I own the company that digs the ditches, and the one that pours the concrete, and the one that builds the walls, but you never cared to ask. Did you? You only cared about the checkbook." She sneered. "I don't care what you own. You're low class. You're cheap. You're tacky. Frankly, we were doing you a favor by inviting you at all. Now you're going to fix this." "I owe him nothing," I said quietly. "I gave him a life, an education, a home, and in return, he sent me a text telling me to stay away." I stepped back inside. I picked up the phone. I called Marcus, my property manager. "Prepare the eviction paperwork," I said, "effective today." Michael's face went white when he heard, "You're evicting us." "I didn't evict you," I said. "I just stopped providing housing for people who aren't family. You said it yourself." "Vanessa, I'm just a bank account, and the bank is closed." They left, arguing with each other, storming down the street. 20 minutes later, I drove to the house on Oak Street myself. I wanted to check on something. The locksmith had already come and gone. I let myself in with my own key, and the moment I stepped through the door, the smell hit me: stale champagne, old takeout, a party that had gone on far too long, clothes thrown everywhere, broken glass on the floor. This was how they actually lived, behind the curated photos. But that wasn't what stopped my heart. I walked into the living room and looked at the walls. Empty, rectangular patches, brighter than the paint around them, where paintings used to hang. My late wife Eleanor had been a painter. Not professional, just someone with a gift for capturing light. She'd painted the lake house we used to rent, the wildflower field behind it, a small self-portrait she gave me for our anniversary. All of it gone. I walked to the bedroom, my heart hammering now, and pulled open the jewelry drawer I'd built into the wall myself. Empty. Her pearl necklace, her gold watch, the one I gave her the day our son was born. Gone. I dropped to my knees and searched the trash can by the bed until my hand closed around a crumpled slip of yellow paper. A pawn ticket. Item 1, oil painting. Coastal landscape. Item 2, oil painting. Floral study. Item 3, pearl necklace. Item 4, gold watch. Total payout $1,200. They hadn't just been living off me, they had sold my wife. I sat on the floor of that ransacked bedroom for a long time, holding a scrap of yellow paper worth more to me than anything else in the world. $1,200. That was the price they'd put on my wife's entire legacy. I called my lawyer. Marcus. My voice was steady when I told him what I'd found. He asked if I was sure I wanted to press charges. I told him the nuclear option was the only option left. Then I drove home. put on the charcoal suit I'd hung in the back of the closet the night before, and pointed my truck toward the Grand Plaza. I wasn't going as a guest. I wasn't going as a father. I was going to collect. The valet nearly had a heart attack when I pulled my mud-splattered truck onto the red carpet out front. A security guard stepped into my path at the door. Arms crossed. "Smook." "Invitation," he asked. "I don't have one." I said, "I'm the father of the groom." He laughed in my face, told me the couple had specifically warned staff about an unwanted, disruptive older man trying to force his way in, told me to turn around before he called the police. "Get me the manager." I said. He rolled his eyes and radioed it in anyway, just to make a point of throwing me out properly. A minute later, the manager came jogging out, sweating, flanked by 2 off-duty officers hired for security. He took one look at me, and the blood drained out of his face. He didn't see a wedding crasher. He saw the man who sat on the board of the company that owned this building, the man who'd bought this place 5 years ago when it was a failing hotel and turned it into the premier venue in the state. "Mr. Grayson," he stammered, bowing slightly. I didn't know you were coming." The guard's jaw actually dropped. "I hear there's trouble with today's payment." I said, "Yes, sir. A misunderstanding with the wire transfer. We were just about to. I reversed it." I said, "I don't pay for events. I'm not welcome at." I walked past all of them, through the marble lobby, toward the sound of a string quartet drifting out of the ballroom. I pushed open the double doors. The room was breathtaking gold leaf, crystal chandeliers, towers of white orchids on every table, flowers bought, I now knew, with money from my late wife's stolen locket. And there, center stage under a spotlight, stood Vanessa, microphone in hand, voice trembling with a grief that was almost convincing. "It's such a tragedy," she was saying. "We wanted him here so badly. Michael's heartbroken, but his father has been struggling, mentally, for a long time now. We tried to help him, but he's become unpredictable, even dangerous. For everyone's safety, we made the difficult choice to leave him at home, where he's comfortable." A ripple of sympathy moved through the crowd. Poor Michael. Poor Vanessa. I stepped out of the shadows and started walking down the center aisle. Michael saw me first. His face went from grief to pure panic in half a second. He didn't move. He couldn't. Vanessa followed his gaze. The microphone slipped in her hand. The string quartet dragged to a stop. Bows, scraping. Silence rolled backward through the room like a wave, table by table, until every single guest had turned to see what had frozen the bride, mid-sentence. I walked past Vanessa's parents, her father, mid-bite, fork frozen in the air, her mother, staring at me like something had crawled onto the tablecloth. I climbed the 3 steps onto the stage. "Dad," Michael hissed, "please, just turn around." I didn't look at him. I held my hand out toward Vanessa. "Give me the microphone." She looked at the crowd, at her parents. At the exit, she realized. In that moment, she was trapped. Fight me for it. And she'd look unhinged. Refuse. And the same. Trembling. She handed it over. I turned to face the room. I tapped it once. The sound boomed through the hall, rattling the crystal overhead. "Good afternoon, everyone," I said. "I apologize for the interruption. And for the record, I'm not unstable. I'm not dangerous, unless you count telling the truth as an act of violence." Gasps. Chairs shifting. Nobody was touching their wine anymore. "My name is Walter Grayson. I'm the groom's father, and the reason I wasn't in the front row today, where a father belongs, is simple." I paused, letting it hang. I wasn't invited. The murmur turned into a wave of disbelief. Last night, my son sent me a text. I continued, very polite, said his fiancée felt my presence would be a distraction, said that because I spent 40 years working with my hands, because I drive a truck and wear flannel, I was too blue-collar for this event. I looked directly at Vanessa's parents. They told me I didn't fit in. But here's the interesting part. I pulled a folded printout from my jacket. Even though I wasn't good enough to attend, I was apparently good enough to pay for it. I read the transfer confirmation aloud. $85,000. Every name. Every number. I paid for the champagne you're drinking. I said, the flowers, the band, the floor you're standing on. I turned to my son, whose face had gone the color of the tablecloths. You wanted to play the prince, Michael, but a prince doesn't banish the king who built the castle. Then I reached into my breast pocket and pulled out the last piece of paper. The pawn slip. I held it up so the light caught it. When I canceled that check this morning, my son and his wife didn't come to apologize. They broke into the home I gave them, rent-free, and they stole from me my late wife's paintings, her jewelry, her wedding ring. My voice cracked. Just once, and he lit it. They sold it for $1,200 to help pay for those flowers behind me. The room went dead silent. True horror, spreading table by table. So no, I said quietly, I'm not sick. I'm not crazy. I'm just a father who's finally done paying for the privilege of being disrespected. I dropped the microphone. It hit the stage floor with a deafening thud. The double doors at the back of the ballroom flew open. 2 uniformed officers walked in, and the crowd parted for them like water. Michael looked at me. One word, barely a whisper. Dad, I turned my back on him and walked off the stage. The fluorescent lights of the precinct hummed with a sound that drilled straight into the back of my skull. No string quartet here. No crystal. Just cinder block walls. A steel table bolted to the floor, and the sharp smell of industrial cleaner trying, and failing, to cover the scent of fear. I sat on a metal chair, hands folded on the table, and waited. When they brought Michael in, I almost didn't recognize him. The tuxedo that had looked so sharp on that stage was a wrinkled mess now. Collar open. Tigon. His eyes were swollen from crying. He sat down across from me. The guard locked his wrist to a loop in the table. The sound of it echoed in that small room. He looked up at me, and for a second, he didn't look 28. He looked 5 years old. The day he scraped his knee on our sidewalk and came running to me, certain I could fix anything. Dad, he choked out. Please, get me out of here. There's a guy in the holding cell who won't stop screaming. I can't stay in here. I can't. I didn't answer right away. I looked for the arrogance he'd shown me on my own lawn that morning. I looked for the defiance from when he'd changed the locks on my house. It was gone. All of it. Vanished the second the cuffs clicked shut. I'm not here to bail you out. Michael, I said. He froze. What I'm here to say goodbye. Goodbye, his voice cracked. Dad, what are you talking about? You can't just leave me here. I can, I said, and I am. It wasn't my fault. He blurted, words tumbling over each other. It was Vanessa. You know how she is about appearances. She said you'd never notice the jewelry was gone. She said the paintings were just old junk. I told her it was wrong. Dad, I swear I did. But she wouldn't listen. Stop, I said. He stopped, chest still heaving. I sat there for a moment, and something in me, some old, stubborn piece of a father who still loved his boy, wanted to reach across that table, wanted to tell him it would all be fine, the way I always had. 40 years of instinct doesn't switch off just because you finally understand it was the wrong instinct all along. But I made myself sit still. "Do you hear yourself?" I asked. "Quieter now. You're 28 years old. And you're sitting here telling me a woman made you steal from your own father. That you have no spine of your own. No will. No honor. I loved her." He whispered. "You didn't love her." I said. "You loved the way she made you feel important. And you loved my money. Because it let you buy her attention. But love isn't theft. So, and a marriage isn't a conspiracy to commit a felony. Dad, please." He was sobbing now. Openly. "I'm sorry. I know I messed up. But prison, Dad. I'm not built for that." "You're right," I said. "You're not. And that's exactly why you need this." He looked up, tears sliding down his chin. "Why do you hate me?" That one landed harder than anything Vanessa had said to me on that stage. "I don't hate you," I said, and my voice wasn't steady anymore either. "I love you. That's the whole tragedy of this. Michael, I love you enough to let you fall." I stood. The chair scraped against the concrete. "For 28 years, I protected you," I said. "I paid your debts before you even knew you had them. I fixed every mistake before it could leave a mark on you. And look what it built. A man who could look his own father in the eye and steal from his mother's grave. Dad, no, I'm doing you a favor," I said. "I'm giving you something I never gave you before. Reality. There's no checkbook coming to save you this time. There's just you. And the law. And whatever you're actually made of." "What about Vanessa?" he asked. "Small now. What happens to her? She's down the hall." I said, "And if she's smart, she's blaming you right now. Same as you just tried to blame her. You two deserve each other. Whatever's left of that." I turned toward the door. "Dad." "Wait," the chain rattled as he lunged forward. "Dad, don't walk away. Please. I'm scared." I stopped with my hand on the door. I didn't turn around right away. I let myself feel it, the full weight of it, because pretending it didn't hurt would have been its own kind of lie. And I was done with lies in that family. "You should be scared," I said finally. "Growing up is terrifying. But it's the only thing that's going to get you through the other side of this." I knocked on the steel door. It opened from the outside. "Dad." His voice cracked into something raw behind me. "Dad, come back." The door shut. The sound cut him off mid-sentence. Heavy and final. I stood in that hallway for a long moment, listening to nothing. It was the loudest silence I've ever heard in my life. I walked past the booking desk, past officers drinking bad coffee, and out into the night air. Sirens, somewhere in the distance. The city still moving, indifferent to what had just ended in that room. I got into my truck, sat there with both hands on the wheel, not moving. I had lost a son that day. But somewhere down the road, maybe in a year, maybe 5, a man might walk out of those gates in his place. And if that ever happened, it would be worth every cent of the $85,000 I never spent. It took 30 days to scrub the stain of that betrayal out of my life. I went back to the pawn shop myself. I didn't argue about the interest. I just wanted my life back. I carried Eleanor's paintings home, ran my thumb over brushstrokes she made 20 years ago, and felt them come back to life in my hands. I didn't hang them again. My house was too quiet for that now. Instead, I sold the jewelry at auction. Sold the house on Oak Street to a young mechanic and his wife, who looked at that place like it was a palace. And I opened the Walter Grayson Scholarship Fund for kids who want to build things with their hands, the way I once did. Now I'm sitting in seat 1A, somewhere over the Atlantic, a glass of champagne in my hand. Eleanor always wanted to see the coast of Italy. We never made it. I was always too busy building an empire for a son who didn't want it. Well, I'm going now. We spend our whole lives trying to give our children what we never had. But somewhere along the way, we forget to give them what they actually need: character. I thought loving my son meant shielding him from every storm. I only succeeded in raising a man who couldn't survive one. Dignity is the only currency that matters. And sometimes, you have to be willing to lose everything else just to keep it. If you believe I did the right thing, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of justice. Served cold. Tell me in the comments, would you have bailed your son out or walked away, just like I did?